If you are new to our channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
Coming up on the program, we're going to harvest our onions. And we're going to plant fall potatoes in a different method and later than we ever have before. All that and more coming up today on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener.
The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener is sponsored by the following. MIgardener.com, with over 450 varieties of non-GMO, heirloom, organic flowers, vegetables, and herb seeds, all for 99 cents. MIgardener.com. HappyLeafLED.com, a commercial-grade grow light with a home gardener's affordability. All indoors, no fans, no motors, simply plug in and grow. Great for seed starting to lettuce to full-grown tomatoes. HappyLeafLED.com.
Sustain Natural Fertilizer, offering superior organic plant foods that deliver research-proven results, trusted by farmers, growers, and gardeners for 30 years. Learn more at sustain.com.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. I'm Joy Baird. Well, it's time for us to harvest our onions, and we know that for a variety of reasons here. Now, first off, we've grown our onions in raised beds for the last 2 years because we've had phenomenal success. We've tried to grow them in the regular ground. We just don't have that loose tilt that we need in order to get good bulb development. So, you know your onions are ready whenever you see them tilted over. When the top has fell and creased the vine or the stalk there, that's an indication that they're not going to grow no more. It has already pinched off the energy going from the bulb to the top of the bulb. So you're not going to save them even if you try to bring them back up. They've already crushed the important vessels in order to make the bulb grow and develop and all that. If you don't have good bulb development, and we've got a mixture of some good and some small, these were from sets, the bunch of live plants. These were not from starts, the little dormant onion bulbs. And these have grown very well. We haven't had none go to seed. And you'll get that whenever you grab the sets, the little bulbs, because you're planting them and they believe they're in their second year, and second year onions typically put seed pods on. So you can start them from seed if you want to do that. These are Walla Walla onions and giant jumbo white onions. Now, we are in the northern portion of the United States. These are long day onions. You need to have long day onions in the north, neutral day onions in the center of the United States, and short day onions in the south. So make sure you're getting the right type of onion, right category. If you try to grow one in another area, you're going to get great green tops, but not very good bulb size. So we've got some weeds growing in here, and you can, if it's loose soil like this, you just want to grab a hold and pull up. Now people will say as they're growing the onions, you want to rake the soil away from the bulb, because it's going to inhibit the bulb growth. That does hold true slightly if you're in really dense soil, but loose compost raised bed mix here, not a problem. It will grow just fine. So I'm going to harvest these, then we're going to go over the root maker grow bag and harvest those, and we'll talk about how we felt the harvest was for our onions. So we harvested all of them out of this bed, and as I went through the bed, I went ahead and weeded. There's some smaller ones that I missed there. I think there was a 97 or 111 or something I planted in this bed from starts that we got from the garden center. And you can see some of them are decent size, larger ones, very nice ones, and we have our traditional smaller ones, but we grew them ourselves. We had a tremendous problem with the potting mix in which we had to begin with the season that we started our onion seeds in. They all died because of the bad potting mix, so we had to resort to the starts, which is not a bad way to go if you're going to do an easy planting of onions. A few dollars and you can get hundreds of onions for those few dollars. So let's go over the root maker 2x4 grow bag and see how they turned out. I don't think they were as good as these. Now these were not on irrigation at all. These had set and we had enough moisture in the soil. Would they have done better with irrigation? Absolutely. There is still a lot of moisture in this. and we'll have to revitalize this bed, and we won't be able to put onions in this bed again. This was the second year of onions, and that's the maximum that we can do. We'll have to come in here. We might be able to do some bush beans here in the fall, so we'll figure that out later. But let's go look at the other onions that we're going to harvest. So this here is the 2-foot by 4-foot raised bed from rootmaker.com. We're going to harvest the rest of these. Now, what you can do at this point is you can use these right away. There's nothing wrong with chopping the tops and using the greens. Now, the greens are going to be more of a tougher consistency because they're aged and they're older. There's nothing wrong with the bulb. Now, what we will do is we will just let these, set these out. You can do this in a barn, a shed, a garage, spare bedroom, wherever. Just let these out so they're not like piled up like this, because that will encourage mold. And in a couple of weeks, these will all be completely dry, and then you can just snip the tops off, and then you can store them just like you would in a net or in a tray or wherever, so you can have good air circulation. And then you got onions for as long as you can keep them. They will keep 6-8 months. We just had to get rid of some of them some of the harvest we had a year ago because we didn't keep up on them and they got moldy and soft. So safely 9 months. Now these in this bed didn't do nearly as good because there's more intense heat here, and we didn't keep the moisture to it, but they are onions that are usable. Now some of these here, these smaller ones here, that would be good chive material just because they're just a smaller onion and smaller greens there. So harvesting onions, it's a good reward for you. And again, nice onions. This would be, out of all the times we ever grown, last year was our best harvest ever. This is our second best. And for many years, we grew onions. And let me see if I can find an example here. Maybe I can get one here. That there was considered a giant onion for us for many years until we understood that it just was not going to work in the traditional ground. So harvesting onions, it's a fun job, it's a rewarding job, and now you know how to do it and how to keep them so you can have onions far into the winter. Volunteer is a term in the gardening world referring to plants that have come up that you have not planted. They came up naturally, whether by seed drop from an animal, or they were once there in a particular location, or you put compost in your garden that wasn't fully broke down. We have a number of volunteers in our garden, and we've just left them alone. This zucchini plant, there's about 3 zucchini plants here because we dumped compost in this bed last year with the intentions of not using it this year, but we decided to put yacons in this bed, and these summer squashes came up. So this is what one of them looks like. We've got another one in the compost pile itself that has germinated. It's growing very large, and it's a yellow zucchini. So there's 2 examples, as well as we have spaghetti squash that we believe is spaghetti squash that has voluntarily came up in our ground cherry bed. So just because you see something that is growing in a spot that you didn't intend for it to grow, it doesn't mean you should just go ahead and yank it out. Back here, we believe we have some type of grape. It's been there for 2 years. I'm not removing it. It's not impeding any of the growth of any of the other plants, but we're going to leave it go and just see what it actually develops into. And if it's not a grape, it's easy to cut away. If it is a grape, then we've left it alone for the investment of having grapes in our garden. So volunteers, leave them alone. See what you can get. It's a free harvest. It's a free plant that nature's given you. So we're going to plant potatoes far later than we ever have before. We're planting them end of July. Now, these are Yukon Golds. They're in mid-season, so they take about 90 days to reach maturity. These are potatoes that was saved from when we initially did our first planting back in May. So they are soft. They're not the healthiest looking potatoes. That one's very solid. And then we've got 9 of them. So this will also work. These are from Wood Prairie Farms in Bridgewater, Maine, a certified organic seed potato supplier here at the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. This will also work with your store-bought potatoes if you have them sprouting in the cupboard. This will work if you understand and know the variety in which you've got. Some potatoes take about 70 days to reach maturity, others take 90, and some can take upwards of 110 to 130 days. Based on when your last average frost is, that'll dictate when you can plant your potatoes. Our average last frost is about the 21st of October. That's going to give us about 75 days for these potatoes, if all holds true, to grow. Now, even if they are not all the way mature, we can still dig them up, and they're called new potatoes or baby potatoes, however you want to use that term. So first of all, we have prepared our area here. We're going to add some Sustain 8-2-4 fertilizer. Just put it in the bottom of the hole here. Now, with these potatoes, we are not going to divide them because I need all the energy we can. If we start dividing them, it's going to take away from the energy. We will re-sprout. The energy from the potato feeds the sprout until the sprout is large enough to detach itself from the parent or the seed potato and develop its own roots and then take the up nutrients from the soil. We're also doing something different here. We're taking our drip irrigation line and we're going to bury it and put the potatoes on top of it. Something we've never done before. Just going to see how this will work. The only thing we got to remember is to be careful when digging this up so we don't pierce, cut, or tear our drip tape. So just like any other potato planting, we want to space them about a foot apart, about 6 inches deep in the trench. And that's just simply how we're going to do it. And anything like that potato there is dead, rotten, slimy, squishy. That is a dead potato. There's no viability in that whatsoever. This one's the same way. No good. That one's all dried up. Get rid of it. Don't put them in the hole. It's not going to work. That one on the verge of getting there, but we're going to go plant it anyway and see what we get. That one's questionable, but I've already got the hole dug here. That one's dead. That one's still pretty solid. It'll re-sprout. So I got about a half a row here. Now, if you had more potatoes like I talked about in your cupboard, you'd go ahead and plant them. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potatoes. And out of those 5, since this is an experimental process and we're pushing the limits of our grow time before frost, this will be a fine little experiment to have. So we're just going to cover them up with the drip tape. And put, 6-8 inches of soil on top of it. And then this drip tape here, we can do other things. We can fill this hole in and finish filling it up with turnips or rutabagas or radishes, whatever the case is. So fall potatoes, it's something that based on your growing area, it may or may not work. Sometimes you can get a crop in early and then you space it and you get another crop. You can get a spring, summer crop, and then you can get a fall crop. Thanks for watching. Join us again next time for more organic gardening and food preserving. I'm Joy Baird, and this has been the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.